What's up, witches, and welcome to Salem, the weirdest place on earth. Today we are continuing our exploration of exactly how Salem, Massachusetts became Halloween Central. If you missed the first episode, watch that before you get into this one or you're gonna be lost. Before we get started, please take a second to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you'll be alerted when I post new stuff. Also, a lot of the information in this series came from the book Salem, Place, Myth, and Memory. It features a bunch of Salem history experts and covers the witch city's various eras going all the way back to its formation. I highly recommend reading this if you're into Salem history at all, and if you'd like to support To Salem, you can use the link in the description to purchase this book, and I'll get a little cut of that. Thanks so much to everyone who decides to do that. Now, let's get spooky, witches. So, it's the 1970s. Up to this point, Salem has largely ignored its witch history. Sure, there have been a few forays into the witch city tourism market, but nothing significant. 2 Salem-focused episodes of Bewitched have just aired and sparked renewed interest in the town's puritanical past. The 1970s would go on to be the pivotal decade for Halloween's explosion in Salem, but before we get into that, let's have a look at what Halloween was generally like at this time. In the post-World War I United States, money was sprinkled over what we now call the middle class like pixie dust, and this led to a lot of interesting developments, the Roaring Twenties, for example. It was also a significant turning point in the Western commercialization of holidays. It's around this time that Halloween, along with Christmas, Easter, and a few others, start transforming from cute little events you did with your neighbors to cultural signposts that represent us as a people. Salem was, for a long time, reluctant to join in this fun, as were a lot of other New England towns with deep-rooted puritanical belief structures. But eventually, Salem couldn't escape the joyous disintegration of societal norms for one blessed night. So by the time the 1970s rolled around, the soon-to-be-called Witch City was as interested in All Hallows Eve as the next town. While there was no formal citywide celebration of the holiday yet, you'd likely see trick-or-treaters, costumes, and decorations floating around on Samhain Eve. Crucially though, Salem was positioned uniquely to take up the mantle of Halloween Central for a few reasons. First, it was in the mid-1970s in the midst of totally revitalizing its downtown area. This changed a lot of the character of the town, transforming Salem's long-thriving Essex Street into a pedestrian walkway meant to encourage shopping and tourism. It failed at first to generate much of either. Second, and most significantly, as we touched on a little bit in the last video, Salem was on the brink of economic failure and had been for some time. Now, something that a lot of tourists don't really seem to understand about the Witch City is that the whole tourism trade is a really recent development. Up until this point in the 1970s, Salem's economic livelihood was provided by an array of industries, none of which were touristy. Some of these include international maritime trade, manufacturing, and a few more. And the remnants of these industries you can still check out in Salem today. I'm sure in time I'm going to have a look at all of these industries here on To Salem. That is yet another reason to subscribe. But for now, just know that by this point, they had pretty much all failed, and Salem was in a bit of an identity crisis. More or less, all it had going for it was the oncoming American Bicentennial celebration in 1976, a year-long tourism boom that many historic cities in New England especially enjoyed the benefits of. So in the early 1970s, Salem has the eyes of America upon it, due largely to The Crucible a couple decades prior and a recent Bewitched storyline. The economic situation is dire in town, with no prominent industries having yet emerged in the wake of the decline of others. Despite the hardship, Salem has geared its central area towards pedestrian foot traffic. Halloween is on the rise as much in Salem as it is everywhere else in America. And speaking of the rest of America, something that is happening there and in Salem is that the countercultural movements of the 1960s have been fully adopted into the fabric of the country at this point, which has led to a greater emphasis on individual fashion, sexuality, and religion, especially among those who were teenagers or in their 20s in that decade. The scene is now set for a huge shift in Salem's cultural, spiritual, and economic identity. Into this now simmering cauldron came the real witches, and what they brought with them would change Salem, Massachusetts forever. was a small town, previously ashamed of its Puritan history, proud of its maritime contributions to the expansion of America as a global financial force, reeling from the failure of industry after industry, unsure of who it was or who it wanted to be. The pagans came in the early 70s, and in one fell broomstick-riding swoop, they shifted the popular cultural identity away from all of that. And it was at that point that Salem, Massachusetts officially became the Witch City. Thanks so much for checking out this video. In the next episode, we're going to explore the final component to how Salem became Halloween Central, the witches themselves. If you're interested in the sources in this video, check out the description for a link to everything I used to put this episode together. Please, 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 please visit tosalem.com for all the witchy goodness your black heart can handle. Stay weird, witches. I'll see you next time.